I'm vengeance.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Mark 117 of the Super Civil Servants podcast. I am the Bat Daddy, and folks, normally I'm all about batarangs and boob tubes, but tonight it's about wizards and webbing because it's a Marvel weekend. We can call it a marvelous weekend, I guess you would suppose. We got a new Spider-Man movie to talk about, which is going to be really, really fun. Hawkeye is really revving up and looking like it's going to have a really nice finish. And not a lot of news, but we'll talk about a little bit of stuff there. But with me, my homeboy Ross. What's going on, buddy?
Not a whole lot, man. Trying to figure if that stuff's coming out of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a quick 10-minute video last night, and I described it as I just had a webbing buildup, and I needed a webbing release because I got out of the movie at like 10:30 last night, and got home, just did a quick 10-minute thoughts, non-spoilers, but we're going full spoilers tonight, man. Because, I know you saw this today, but you, besides the 10-minute video I put out last night, you and I have not spoken about anything how we feel about this. So this is a complete blind reaction to how you feel about this movie. And I don't really know, to be honest with you. It's going to be fun. But before we get into the movie, because I think Sarah is actually just getting out of the movie, and I'm not sure if she's going to be able to join us or not. So we're going to hold off that Spider-Man talk. And I think Joe might be joining us too after the Marvel Alliance finishes their review of it. So we're going to save the Spider-Man stuff at the end. We're going to talk a little bit of news and a little bit of Hawkeye first. Ross, was there anything in the news that kind of caught your eye that you wanted to discuss this week?
We kind of got to like the last 2 weeks, right? It was,
Yep.
We had some trailers. Trailers aren't really news, but they're new. So Halo looked pretty cool. Like the show coming out. I know I heard about it, but I know I haven't seen anything about it. And I know that we were kind of given like real quick glimpses and not like a whole lot of true action shots from what I remember. I watched it 2 weeks ago. I can't really remember.
Yeah.
But to me, it looks super interesting.
I've
never been a big Halo player.
I just have the fear of it falling into that realm of a video game movie. Which generally you can think of a lot of video games that would be great for movies. And talking about video game movies, I keep looking at Uncharted. I saw the preview on the big screen for Spider-Man, and I've seen the preview before, but seeing on the big screen, I was like, this may be, but I don't know. Once again, video game movies don't turn out that well.
It looked pretty good on the small screen, on the super small screen, but
that's true. It did. Yeah. I'm going to go, I feel like I'm going to go see that. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if it's a theater worthy movie for me. But like once again, seeing it in theater, seeing the preview in theaters was amazing. But yeah, I'm kind of indifferent about Halo. I'm same way with the game. I'll take it or leave it. It's fun, sure, but in the end, it's just another shooter game. So,
well, you got Peacemaker. You've got, I don't know. Peacemaker looks like it may be fun. All of these Marvel shows have been really fun to me. But we talk about it later on. But everyone knew what was going to happen this week, but you turn around and like there it is in your face, and you're stunned. Peacemaker's not going to have that kind of weight to it, I feel, but it does look like it's going to be funny. And Robert Patrick looks like he's going to be a crazy fucker. So yeah, who knows?
Well, the funny thing about Peacemaker is, everybody I talked to either loved this character or you hated this character. There's really no middle ground. And I'm wondering if the television or if the show will make it more of a situation where if you hated him in the movies, maybe you can learn to like him in the show, or vice versa. If you loved him in the movies, maybe you'll hate the show. Like, I don't know if it's going to change anybody's opinion about, but it really just depends. I don't know if people who hated this show are going to actually go watch it, or are they going to hate watch it? Because people do that.
Some people do.
Yeah.
What was the other thing that came out? We had, I texted you guys. I can't remember. Oh, there's the Reacher show, the new Amazon show that has the guy who plays Hawk
on Titans.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's actually a pretty good spinoff. Jack, take what you will from Tom Cruise, but when he played Jack Reacher, is a pretty decent movie. So Then now they're going to put it into a TV show. It's got the same premise, former military guy's basically out to save his, I guess, comrades' butts. But seems like
Yeah.
it could be fun for an Amazon show. I'm not super crazy. Then again, I have not watched the last 2 episodes. I'm 2 episodes behind on Wheel of Time, so
I'm way behind on Wheel of Time. I haven't even started it yet. But you know what? I did catch up on Witcher. I watched the whole first season. So and I actually got into the first episode of the second season, but since it just came out, we're gonna give it a little bit of time to marinate.
One of us.
Yeah. So it's so funny that now I'm actually ahead of you on Witcher after so long of being, never watching it. So, but we're gonna hold off on that one since we got such a big Spider-Man review tonight and give it a little bit of time to watch at least. I'd like to get a few episodes under my belt before I start talking about it. But season 2 looking good so far. So let's see. Got a few comments still. Let's see. Other news. Oh, Harrison Ford back in Star Wars. I just saw something on. They inked the deal. Tim Tizzy's in the chat. What's up, man? He says, "What's up, bitches? I'm here." You didn't miss nothing, man. We're just going over a couple of news stories, and then we're gonna hop into talking about Hawkeye.
I can't even see the chat.
Yep. Yeah. So, how do you feel about this? Because here's the thing: I love Harrison Ford, and I love Han Solo. But isn't the guy like 79? Something like that?
So I read the article prior. When you sent it, it was one of the 2 that I read. And what it seems like is they're going to do the same thing that they've already done for the other 2 of the big 3. And it's going to seem to be more of a de-aging moment. So they're going to basically take his likeness and de-age him. And it's quite possible that they're actually going to... Shoot, I don't know. I mean, we could see the possibilities are Mandalorian or Sam Boba Fett, but thank you.
Well, the article I was reading was saying that it was going to be post Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be
that. It's in that Mandalorian time frame.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. But apparently the deal's inked. So whatever. Harrison Ford's back. Cool. I mean, I love him. It's just like I said, starting to get up there, man.
Like, everything's good till they drop a door on his foot again.
Yeah.
That's what took him out in Force Awakens. So we'll see.
Yep. I'm trying to think. Is there any other Star Wars stuff? What else was there? Oh, Blue Beetle, no longer a television show, now a movie. What did it say? August 2023. Yeah, August 18th, 2023. Interesting. I've always wanted to see this character live action. I was excited about hearing about the show. Now it's going to be on the big screen, a movie. It's even better.
I wonder why I did that. I didn't get into like why, but
I don't really know why either. The article I read just kind of describes it and talks about it a little bit, but doesn't really give any reasoning why it happened.
Sometimes it's content, they break it down. And what I love about TV shows is that you can take and spread more content out there. So what really stinks is that at the end of the day, if you don't have enough, I hope that it's not like a confidence thing, like they're not super confident in how it's going and they just want to like condense it and turn it into a big screen. But if you're going to put it on the big screen, I feel like you would be confident in it. So
yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think it takes more confidence to put something on the big screen, because if you waste 8 episodes of a show or 10 episodes of a show, i.e. what they did with fucking Cowboy Bebop and Jupiter's Legacy, then they just toss it.
It's Jupiter Rising. I think you're right. Right. See, we do this all the time. I got
this all the time. I'm pretty sure it's Jupiter's Legacy, isn't it?
Okay.
I don't know. I think you had to look it up last time.
Yeah, I did.
But yeah, which that walks us right into the next thing there. Cancel Cowboy Bebop. No season 2.
Yeah, dude. I thought the show was decent. I don't know why we turn around and have to keep doing this.
Yeah. From the article I was reading, it got great reviews and great views the first week, and then I guess they had a steep decline the second week.
Yeah,
I mean, people want to watch that. I feel like that's kind of, isn't that the way most popular shows go now? Don't a lot of hardcore fans watch it, binge it as soon as it comes out, and then move on to another show? That's the binging model, right?
Yes, and I have partial problems to talk about it with other things that we're going to talk about. However, when it comes to a show like this that isn't going to be, it's not real heavy in IP. It is, but it's not like real. It's not Marvel, DC, super enormous,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that what my qualm is that I want to binge it because I want it super fast so that I get the story and I'm in and out. and like I know everything, because that's going to keep me coming back. At the end of the day, if it's enough, it's going to keep me coming back.
Right. Yep. I mean, reading this article, like I said, I enjoyed it too. I was ready for a season 2. I thought they set it up well to go into a season 2. But just reading this article, it was talking about is that they focused too much on Spike's character and what was the villain's name? Vicious.
Yeah.
Focused too much on that character, and it should have been more like a weekly, So I guess it should have been more like the first 4 episodes, which I didn't like as much, is what they're saying.
You want a wraparound story. You want something that's going to be a lot bigger than something super simple.
Yeah.
So
we're talking about Cowboy Bebop, 10 Tizzy. They canceled season 2 after, we reviewed it. I thought it was a damn good show. It had me. I was going to watch season 2. I don't understand why they do these things. But then again, things that you and I like may not necessarily be.
Yeah.
The things that
we're not the one making the decisions or the money. So
I don't understand it on my end. Let's put it that way. So I'm trying to think any other news. And did you see these? Did I send you the pictures, or did you see these Empire covers of the Batman? It's got Robert Pattinson's Batman and Zoe Kravitz Catwoman, and then just this badass picture of Batman. Let me share these with you. Check out these. Share screen. I want to share this screen. Check out this badass picture.
Oh, that's nice.
Like, that's a poster. Like, take the Empire away, and that's a poster for me right there. So, and then let's see.
Superimpose Batman in that same font. That would look super cool as a poster.
Yeah. And then there's this one of Pattinson, which this red and black theme with Pattinson, I didn't know how I felt about it at first, but it's really starting to grow on me. Oh, is that not working? Is that glitching?
Oh yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well,
it's funny because he's okay, but
yeah, but the other side of him not. That's really weird. Huh. Okay.
We're gonna have to put an epilepsy warning on this bad boy.
Do this one, and then this one is Zoe Kravitz, man. Folks, if you don't watch the show, you don't get to check out all this cool stuff, even though the internet has it anyway. But the only place you can find it is here. I'm just kidding. Zoe Kravitz. So I can't wait to see this Catwoman, man. It's going to be interesting, make or break. But yeah, I don't know. And 10 Tizzy's in the chat, and he's I'm gonna say something y'all might not like it, but Ben is my Batman, bro.
Oh,
don't.
Ben came out.
Too.
Ben came out and said he wasn't doing any more big IP stuff, that he was done.
We'll see, man.
You know what? Everyone can say it until they back up the truck of money. I understand that, but still, I mean, like what's sad is that I like Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, and I liked his suit. I liked the way that he looked. I was just not a fan of like the motion of everything that played out. But I mean, I had no problem with Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm.
I was a lot less hesitant about Ben Affleck than I am Pattinson. But at the end of the day, I know that we get different versions of it. So he is in the Flash movie. Yes, that is supposed to be like the last time that he said that he was going to don it until,
You know what, dude? I don't care. I saw the Final Crisis little tease from Zack Snyder at the Thanksgiving Day thing. I know I sent a copy of that to you, or sent a video of that to you. I'll hear nothing about it forever. But now there's that little spark inside of me. There's just that little bitty thing like, okay, let's see this. Because I don't know. I just don't think Zack Snyder does stuff like that if it doesn't mean something. So I'm always have hope that Ben Affleck's going to be Batman again. Because I guarantee you, if that ever happened with Zack Snyder doing a Final Crisis, you'd see Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller, and you'd see all of them come back and reprise their roles.
Look, clearly decades have passed. I mean, when we talk about Star Wars, they bring back. Here we are talking about Harrison Ford even more.
Right.
At the end of the day, who's going to say? I mean, yeah, you can't make an actor or actress like sign a 50-year commitment. Like, you have to be in it to win it. But
nowadays, man, they're doing like 9-10 years. Look at them. Well, I don't know. I don't think that Downey ever signed, or Downey or what's his name, ever signed like a commitment that long. But over time, they signed with him that long, right? Yeah. So, but Henry is my Superman 10. I'm right there with you, man. Trust me. Speaking of, just if we're going to talk about Zack Snyder stuff, I know I said this was a Marvel show, but on vacation this weekend, they had a movie theater in the cabin that I was staying in, and I've opened up HBO Max and I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League in a movie theater. It was fucking awesome. Absolutely amazing. Finally got to do it. that just mark that off my list. Mark that off the list. I finally got to do it. So,
Yeah, the place
but
looked pretty cool.
it was. I
I
mean,
would love to have a little room like that set up.
it definitely. My wife said, as soon as we were done, she was like, "Yeah, we ever hit it, like we're gonna have one of these." And I was like, "Oh
We're gonna
yeah,
watch the
we'll have a
bow
couple
chicka
of
wow
these."
wow on there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, everything goes on there, man. There'll be a couple of them. There'll be a kids theater. There'll be an adult theater. It's gonna be great. I might even charge admission. Have a popcorn machine. Awesome. I mean, I am wanting to buy that drive-in movie theater down the street from me. For real, wanting to buy that.
Right.
So, but we'll see.
You got to pull a rough start, or you get a first draft.
Yeah. But 10 says they do 6 movie deals whenever for the MCU. That makes sense. I don't think all characters do 6 movie deals.
Well,
So
not the first
I'm
time
not sure.
around. I mean, so what they do is they do a repeat clause, not repeat clause, a renew clause. So they're given the rights to extend their deal with a priority or something like that. I went through one time and read it back when like Ultron came out, because all the news was real big right around then. Because they're team up movies and they're individual movies, and the first time Avengers movies or first time superhero movies, like Wanda didn't have one, but like when Thor and Captain America. So now what we have is just it's crazy, because now they have all of the cards and everyone wants to come to them, so they get to play a little bit of a different ball game.
Oh yeah, it's like right now they're playing poker in their big stack.
Mm-hmm.
And their big stack, and everybody else is just about to be out. Like they can push around whoever they want to. They can get whoever they want to, and proof of that in the movie that we're about to talk about in just a little while. Just I have no problem with it. I'm cool with that. It really works out well. 10 says that Robert Downey did a 3-movie deal with an option of 3 more. Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I figured most of them do that, and honestly, keep going back to the well for the actors and the directors. If these guys are killing it in the roles and the roles you're enjoying it and making money, why not? So. I'm trying to think. Any other news that we had? And then we'll start talking about some Hawkeye. I haven't heard from Sarah yet, but we'll just push on. Hopefully she'll make the well, I guess. Well, you know what? I'll save this last little bit for whenever we actually do talk Spider-Man, because this is some of the Spider-Man news. So.
We got a little. I mean, we got nothing out. I mean, Mega Man, but that's not really new news. They're talking more about the live action version of that. Well, you know what? I think I remember why I read it. I read it because they were talking about Cowboy Bebop failing, and what that means for other things that they have up in the chute. So,
yeah, you know something. Part of the reason why it was weird for me looking up a lot of news here, because we don't. I don't break news, and I am not a reliable source to hear news from. But 2, I've been staying away from reading and deep diving into so many of these things, like really, really deep diving in, and it paid the fuck off whenever I saw Spider-Man No Way Home, because there was so much shit that I didn't expect. And I don't know if they surprised everybody with all this stuff or not, but I was surprised and I didn't see it coming. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm so glad that I didn't dive deep into this movie and have everything spoiled for me before I ever saw it. And it's kind of made me not want to do that anymore. There was this moment where I was getting every little bit of news I could and following people and trying to see leaks and all this stuff. And now it's just like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore, man. Yeah. I want that excitement that I had last night when I saw that movie.
And that's where I was going to go with it when we were talking about binging. This right here is something that people all the time are like, we got to break this. We got to let you see what's going on with the trailer that just came out. We're going to pick up the 35 Easter eggs and blah, blah, blah. And, the movie just came out. And like, you did non-spoiler review. Like, we do this because we like talking about it. That's all I want to do. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole and be completely like screwed for enjoying all the stuff that we want to watch. So, well, the trailers, and we've talked about it previously, like the trailers can go too far sometimes. And when do you choose to cut yourself off versus when do you, I feel like just seeing like the first 2 trailers, I think, for Spider-Man, it just felt like the second one was like, oops, I probably shouldn't have watched that. But what do you do?
Well, I mean, how deep you dive into it, like I said, for me, is just changing up the way I'm looking at things. Like I never watched Witcher the entire time that stuff was going. Like people watched it and always talked about it, but I never looked into it either. And now watching it, everything for me is new. And it's like, oh, this is really fucking sweet. I don't. It's like I can't. I haven't watched Game of Thrones, but I know so much stuff that happens in it already. That it's just like, well, okay. Like I know that this person dies, and I know how this ends, and it's like, well, why watch it? I pretty much know the story.
Well,
Especially
the
with
books
the
were
way
out too, so I mean, it's not
yeah.
like
Well, yeah, but do you think I'm going to read the books? Seriously? Like the only kind of books I do is audiobooks, which by the way, I am rolling through the whole Sith Legends series right now. It's great. So, yeah, man. Well, I got nothing else but news unless you had something you want to talk about. We can just hop on to Hawkeye.
I did get one little thing though. Apparently, finally, we had both fans of Dune, and the fact that they didn't make them back to back seemed like a pretty idiotic move.
Yes.
But they were interviewing Skarsgård, who played
the head guy, the
Baron.
the one,
there you go.
Yeah, Baron. What a good float. Yeah.
So they were talking to him because he has his role on Andor coming up. And so when he's going to do the Star Wars show, he's going to be, I remember what it was, but I'm not going to go too deep into it. For Dune 2, apparently they're going to start filming it in July is what he's scheduled for. So I don't know if that's going to be at the beginning of it or just like when his bit pops up. So hopefully, it won't be any later than mid 2023.
Right.
So we'll see.
Well, it seems like these they're pumping stuff out again now. Yeah, pretty quickly.
Oh, they're so much more efficient at it,
Yeah.
Look what The Mandalorian did. Look what it gave us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Movie quality in a television show. It's fantastic. Oh, yeah, I can't wait for the second Dune. As a person who'd never seen the original, I didn't go back and watch the original beforehand, and I don't think I ever will go back and watch the original because I don't want it to ruin my mindset of what Dune looks like now because I like the way it looked. But also, isn't the original is like way more story? This was like half of the original movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I'll spoil
this
the
is
next
about
movie
half
if I
of
go
it.
back and watch the original. Okay.
The other one was the other one felt so dense, the old one. And so when you watch the old one, it was, it's tough to go back and watch it, but I do recommend watching it like after they come out with the second one, just to kind of see, and you can fast forward through the whole thing, but just to see the comparisons.
Right.
I know
that I might do. Yeah.
Some websites do like side by side comparisons between the characters. So like, this is what Baron looked like before, and this is what he looks like now, which he was an ugly fucker before. So,
do you think they're ever going to do that with Star Wars? Do you think like 30 years from now, they're going to be like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's remake A New Hope.
It's so culturally well known that I don't think you can. Like,
yeah. It'd be like trying to remake the first James Bond movie.
There's
right?
so many more stories you can tell. I mean, you gotta get out of that small wheelhouse and move on. Mm-hmm. And I think I couldn't read the question, but I think they was asking about a movie. Andor is just a TV show, the Cassian Andor show that Skarsgård is supposed to be in.
Yes. But yeah, now I've blown my own mindset. And you're thinking about that. I was like, nah, I think you're right, man. I think that there's a lot of franchises you could do that with. You can reboot and just tell the exact same story, just redone. I don't think Star Wars is one of those because you're right. There is so much more. And I'm not gonna lie, man. I said I've been listening to all those Sith books right now. I've gotten through the Thrawn. I'm almost finished with Bane. Then I'm going to Revan, and then I'm going to the old Sith books, like from 5000 BBY, man. Like I'm going all through these Sith books, and they are so interesting. And I just love listening to audiobooks now. Thanks, Nathan, for getting me hooked on that. But yeah, there's so much more they can do. I want to see an Old Republic book.
I just want to see anything. Movie. I mean, actually, we to talk about it, but that trailer for that video game came out, and I mean,
yeah, Eclipse.
Like, say what you will about it, but for a theatrical trailer of a game, it looks phenomenal. And if the stuff is true that's in it, I know that the game isn't going to come out for at least another like 2 years because of licensing rights. But who knows what's going to happen between now and then? Just to see something. Just to see that little bit of a trailer and show us that, you can stretch out pretty far. And they even still had Yoda in it. It's not like they were fully disconnected. They had lightsabers and Yoda.
But they didn't even need that for you to feel like it was Star Wars, though.
Right.
which is what's so crazy. And that was such a beautiful trailer too. It
Yes.
seriously looks like a movie. It looks like a live action fucking movie in some scenes. I probably won't play the game because I'm not as big of a gamer anymore.
Yeah.
But I want to see that cutscene movie. Because there's the one thing, man, you go on YouTube and watch these cutscene movies from these video games like this, and it's a damn good movie, usually. So I want to see this cutscene movie.
Just finished Fallen Order probably a month or two ago.
I'm still in the training. That's the last game I bought. Still
it's been that long, so
yeah. And don't get me wrong, they're fun games. I just sacrifices in life. Gaming had to go. So plus I had a lot of anger issues with gaming. Getting mad at a computer system or playing somebody online and getting mad at somebody, a complete stranger that I don't even know. It's just like I gotta get rid of this, get this out of my life.
I'm not an
people
online
will
player.
talk mad shit on video games, especially sports games. Play Madden with somebody who thinks they're the best ever and beat them and thinks they're the best ever. Oh, it's terrible. It's horrible. Actually, it's
I just don't want to. I don't want to put myself in an atmosphere to play with an 11-year-old.
That's the other thing too.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's true.
I will come to your house and your mom.
Yeah, kids saying that to me. Hadn't even hit puberty yet. It's crazy.
Palpatine. I'll be your new step.
Yeah. Come on, 10 Tizzy says he fucked up. What happened, man? You're still with us? You didn't fuck up. Anyway. All right. Well, let's. You got anything else? You want to start talking some Hawkeye?
Well, have you watched anything else other than Witcher this week?
Trying to think. Anything else seriously than Witcher? No, to be honest with you, I really haven't. Nothing other than old stuff that I've had on, and then trying to think if there's anything. I thought my wife started some shows, but there's nothing really that I would talk about on here.
I had I'd watched the first episode of The Expanse. That was really new season, and then I made it to watch the new South Park. Apparently, they got the second post-COVID show coming out, so
I want to see that. Yeah,
that looks pretty good.
Sarah, what's up?
Hi, fellas.
You made it. You are fresh out of the oven for the theater. That's what I mean. Yeah, like with Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Your webbing is still sticking to you. So
yes, I'm still processing. So that's
I hear you.
That's great.
Did you? Well, what's up? We actually were going to save that. We were trying to save that for you to get up. Come on, because I wasn't sure if you're going to make it or not. But we're just about to walk into Hawkeye. Did you catch up on that? You want to talk Hawkeye with us? Hell yeah, let's do it.
I'm on Hawkeye. Yes.
Well, who wants to start? Why don't y'all take the lead?
Let's do it. I'll do it. For Hawkeye, I'm just gonna go ahead and start at the end because you can't not discuss that. I was totally spoiled for all of it, so it's not like any of it was new. But to have Kingpin come up and
even it's like right there,
even the grainy, like the 3G cell phone image was still just enough to get you to the point to where you're like, I'm sorry, we're doing this now. Let's do it. To be the last little thing before you walk out of that whole entire episode. I mean, because you can't carry on. But I mean, what was that? That was the fifth episode. We have one left.
Yeah, this is the penultimate. Was this week? Yeah, it's great.
Really?
It was crazy thinking about that. Yeah, this is the penultimate this week.
Don't disappoint me. God, this is like that show where I was like, okay, well, kind of iffy about, but now I'm like 100%.
Yeah. Told you. I mean,
I'll listen next time.
This episode. Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say, I will say between watching, I've been full marveled out in the last 24 hours between Hawkeye and seeing Spider-Man. I've seen so many connections to things that I've been watching before that I've been waiting for, and I'm like, okay, cool, awesome. I see that there. I see that. Yeah, tie that together. Okay, cool. I like where this is going. I talked about it last night. I'm excited. I'm finally excited again about Marvel and the future of Marvel. Not that I wasn't like that. I had a disconnect. I had a disconnect. It's not there anymore.
I'm sorry. I'm so excited to get him. I ordered this little Joker back in July.
Nice.
And I got him last week.
Damn post office.
No, this Hawkeye episode, I love the tie-ins for that because you knew the tie-ins were coming. Especially like I can never say her name. Was it Yelena? No, Yelena.
Oh, that intro. The intro
I
was
know,
perfect.
right?
Mhm.
I actually like the first thing I wrote down was like, holy shit intro, because they came out of, they did everything that you wanted. It's the first time that you saw what it would be like to go those 5 years and everything around you, not just physically changed, but everything around you just changed, period. When you come back and you're
the same spot you left. And then it's like
Yes.
everything has just changed. It was like, thank goodness that she had that one chick was still there. So at least there was some kind of connection. But that was just.
I'm not gonna lie, I was confused as hell when it first happened. I was like, "Whoa!" I even wrote down, I was like, "Okay, Elena transported somewhere," and then the 5 years thing came up, and I was like, "Oh,
You didn't see the little
I get it." No,
you
I
didn't see the
Dust.
ash?
Yeah.
no,
yeah,
I did.
Whichever.
No, I didn't see that. So,
Dude.
yeah. So I thought that was very, very well done. You're absolutely right, and
But it was cool how it started. The episode, that particular episode, timeline wise, started like it was like basically right after Black Widow. So it's like you see Black Widow, and then this episode, the way it's where they started at, because I had to sit there and think for a minute, and I'm like, it didn't dawn on me when it did, but then when you saw that she was trying to help what she thought was another widow, to come out of the the mind control or whatever was going on, and then which I thought was funny. She's like, it's like a $20,000 rug. Now I can't, how am I supposed to clean this? I'm like, oh, yes, you are bougie. But anyway, so, but once, you connected that, and then when you have the scene of her blipping and then coming back, and I was just like, whoa, that was cool. That was super cool.
Yeah. I thought it was a pivotal moment because after everything that you go through in the Infinity Saga, when you turn around and just have all these little tidbits that they just throw in just to make you remember. Because I mean, we'll talk about it in Spider-Man 2, but for Hawkeye, it's just like when you watch, like I was completely taken aback because not only do they pick up pretty soon, right after the last episode. I mean, like all these are in order. It's one giant movie and you watch them together. But then, like you said perfectly, I scream it every single time we talk about Marvel, why I like it, is the connective tissue. They bring Black Widow in perfect and seamlessly, and the blip, and everything is just pieced together to a point where you're sitting there. I was sitting there the first 5 minutes, just like, fucking love this. Like, I don't, wow.
And then throughout the episode, when when Clint finally realizes that's who's after her, who the widow was, and it was like it basically took me back to Infinity War when Natasha made that choice, that she wanted to do that instead of Clint because of all this. I was just like, oh God, transported me back there. I was like, oh, I'm like, you need to sit down with her and tell her this.
Like Pinocchio with my heart, man. Pinocchio with my heart.
Like,
Can I tell you one problem that this show is fixed right now? Or one problem that I think people can argue that it's fixed right now is everybody talked about how the Black Widow movie came out way too late, the wrong time. This show makes the Black Widow movie and the timing it came out absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. And well, this show also makes this kind of a Black Widow show with the stuff they put in there, with the shot he couldn't take, with all the background with his sister. This is kind of a Black Widow show without Scarlett Johansson. It's kind of crazy, or additional Black, not just Hawkeye.
Well, it's always been Black Widow and Hawkeye. They've always had that connection. So this is kind of like a it's like their story didn't end there. Their friendship didn't end there. So this is like a continuation of it, because even when when Clint's looking at the plaques and even making the statement that, Natasha, I wish you were here, I really need to talk to you, that just really solidifies that, and you're just like
just
like
the symbolism
the
of him taking his hearing aid out, and just like to him, like that's like his sound booth, like when he takes it out and the world stops and he's only talking out of his mouth to someone who no longer lives. And I was like, fuck, man, like, punch me again.
I did find it weird though that he takes it out to sleep. Wouldn't you want to be able to hear if somebody's sneaking up on you in your sleep, or something's going on in your sleep? I mean, I just feel like I would,
because that stuff wakes you up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, like I guess that makes sense. I don't have a hearing problem, so I couldn't really make that statement. But I don't know.
The shuffling of the movies and TV shows has been a real big ball under the cup thing. And I think that they have done a really good job of making sure that, they were able to pull WandaVision out because it was they were making it as they were releasing it. Like they were editing it as they were releasing it. If you've read or watched that Matt Shackman interview, I'm going to screw his name up. I'm pretty sure that's it. He says, every single time it came down to deadline for like, hey, you need to give it to us because we need to put it on Disney Plus. It was like right at the end when he was trying to finish it, and they were pushing WandaVision because like it didn't have the stakes that these other shows have. It didn't have that, and so they were able to just push stuff around. The Black Widow thing was late, but what they did was they brought a whole story in that connected the dots, and they were like, Black Widow will be fine once you know that all the rest of this is connected to it.
They made it relevant. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they needed to do because they kind of screwed the pooch on the whole time thing of it.
let me rephrase that. I don't want to say made it relevant because the movie itself is not irrelevant. They fixed what, like I said, I think they fixed what people had a problem with about timing. And I think that you can look at this now and say, okay, this is a good time for this movie to walk us into this. So trying to think. So you said you got spoiled on it, Ross. You got spoiled on the Kingpin part?
Well, everything's been going around. If you follow anything that Vincent D'Onofrio does, he's always been very like a mum about anything. And then now, of course, all the questions get brought up to him, or he gets asked in interviews or gets asked on like Twitter or whatever it is. When he comes out with some of his quizzical answers, I guess might be the best way to say it. But all that you're doing is literally just you're setting the stage rather than like it's like Andrew Garfield for Spider-Man. All the interviews that he did, all the answers that he gave, that you can only hold this stuff so well. I mean, I'll continue to say it. I've said it a few times on this show. Grogu was one of the best kept secrets, like period. The whole Baby Yoda was fantastic, but how do you do that in Marvel? When everyone is sitting there waiting to get their teeth or like, just slip up and give me like one wrong word. Yeah. And then they twist it. So, I mean, it's all about headlines and everything else. So at the end of the day, I knew Vincent D'Onofrio, on top of hearing about Charlie Cox, all these different things were piecing themselves together pretty perfect. And then of course, last week they came out and said that, they're pulling Charlie Cox as their Daredevil. He was going to be it. I don't remember what day they released that, but they had to come out in front of it. So,
well, it was a few days ago, and I was going to talk about that when we were talking about the Spider-Man review. I heard that, and it was like the statement was, if you see Daredevil in the MCU, it will be Charlie Cox. I was like, oh, cool. They finally. And then I saw the movie, and I was just like I said, I didn't dive into this movie. I was like, oh, cool. So we're going to talk about it. But yeah, I think they had some stuff well kept because I went into this as a GA fan and just kind of, okay, the movie's coming out. I'm going to see it when it comes out. And I think that a lot of the people that were sitting around me were the same way because there was a lot of surprise in my theater. My theater was sold out. I don't know about y'all's. My theater was sold out. But it was very, very interesting. The movie made a lot of money. But we're talking about Hawkeye right now. Hawkeye.
Yes.
Talk about the 2018 flashback. Do you guys have the feeling that her mother, Kate's mother, is a bad guy?
Oh, I felt it from the beginning.
but she keeps doing like just this little thing to make you think, well, maybe she's not, and maybe she's not. But then you see her talking, it's like, no, she's a bad guy. She's got to be a bad
because
guy.
They want her to be a good
ones like
guy.
that. They're the worst ones because especially if it's like a parent of the hero, that always sets it up to be like the ultimate bad guy because you have her trust. You have the trust and not this, that, and other. And she, Kate's trying to tell her mom. She's like, well. Oh, I can't even think the guy escapes my mind. He's like, you got to check him out because he's this. And she's like, oh, well, we'll check it out because you're the most important thing to me. Yeah. You like, no. That lady's about to twist. It's going to get ugly real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've only got one episode left. So we're going to find out real soon because especially at the end of this episode with her turning in, I'm just going to refer to him as a swordsman because it's the character he's representing. I was like, well, maybe she's not bad, but
Jack has that shit-eating grin on his face every time you see him, and you can't trust anything that he says.
This underlying plan. It's like she's like playing into. She's trying to allay Kate's, I don't want to say fears, but her concerns, and so So they probably concocted this plan. It's like, all right, well, we'll just go ahead and give her the make her think, all right, yes, we're this, you're right. This is what we got going on, because ultimately there's something else that, they're trying to bring to the surface. So it's always that, like I said, that shaky or that skeezy stuff going on. So
Right.
Yeah. That's what makes for a good story.
Well, they've done a good job of being up to the 5th episode, and I don't know what's going to happen in the last episode. Like I'm totally surprised. Real quick, 10, appreciate you coming on, man. Saying good night. Have a good one, man.
Bye, 10.
We'll see you next week. Keep pounding, brother.
Keep pounding, my friend.
Yeah. So Panther Pickle says in the chat, he said Jack getting arrested is a setup. Yeah, that probably makes sense. So
but for what? Because this show's done a real good job keeping a very, very tight knit story together. Like it hasn't expanded very far. This is definitely a what do they call the Daredevil shows? Like all those Marvel shows, the low level threats, the city condensed version of like what Marvel should be. They're doing that with this show.
Ending. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And I think that they're doing it really well, because they're doing it to a point where, once again, it's just it helps tremendously having all this other stuff. That talk between Yelena and Kate Bishop,
the macaroni talk.
She just kept saying her name.
Yeah,
it felt like it as awkward as it felt with Yelena. The whole conversation felt like, oh, I would totally do that. Like, why do you keep saying my name? To make you understand that I know who you are and what you're about.
And then it got real when she put hot sauce on the macaroni and cheese.
It just kept going.
I was like, it's like she's like for real. She's not playing.
Macaroni and cheese and hot sauce.
Yeah, it is interesting too to find out in that conversation, like, because there's this badass fight scene on the roof, and you've got Hawkeye, you've got Kate, you've got Yelena. What's the other girl's name? The deaf girl's name?
Maya.
Yeah, they're all up there fighting, and I guess it's every man for himself except for Hawkeye and Kate being on a team. And you see Kate get thrown over the edge of the building, and it happens real quick. And when you first see it, then you see a replay of it, and you see how it actually happened. And then they talk about it in this conversation. She's like, "No, I didn't try to kill you. I saved you. I pushed you out of the way because you were in my way, trying to kill Hawkeye." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." And that brought up the point of her believing that he is the reason that Natasha is dead. So do you think that she has the story wrong, or in her mind, the story, that's how she sees it in her mind is his fault?
She's twisted by, are we talking about Maya?
No, talking about,
about why she blames Clint for Natasha's death.
Yelena's twisted because of
the mind wash thing.
What's Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character's name? At the one from the end of Black Widow.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I keep thinking for the character's name. Right?
Yeah. So who basically ends up playing Madam Hydra, or is what everyone is completely rumored that's what her character is going to be. Valentina. There you go. So when she twisted the story to basically said, "I got your next contact," and then sometimes you have to sell the story to say, like, you should kill this Avenger, the person who kind of helped save the world because of X, Y, and Z. And so you have to lay that out in order for her to get on board with, often someone to get them out of your way. If people know the truth, and I don't know what story they're telling, but what I'm just saying is that if Barton knows the truth about something and Valentina wants him out of the way, then lying about Barton killing Natasha is the way to get that done.
Right. So that was what I meant though. Like, does she have a wrong story, or does she know exactly what happened? And in her mind,
she's been played. She's being manipulated. Yeah. Absolutely.
Wrong story.
Yeah, that makes sense. So eventually, I'm sure she's going to find out what really happened. She's going to turn back to the light side, and
you're going to have the new Black Widow and the new Hawkeye.
There you go. That is probably the way they're going to go. I agree. I want to talk about the Ronin Batman scene. Dude, that one scene where he's taking everybody out. I was like, wow, Ronin is Batman. Look at that. That is a Batman-ass move right there. The way he took everybody out around her, you couldn't see him at all. I was like, yeah. Now, how come Hawkeye can't be that stealth and lethal? Like, does he put the suit on and get superpowers? It's weird. I don't know. And the other thing I wanted to ask is, how come everybody's cool with Kate just walking down the street with a bow and a quiver? You know, nobody says anything. Nobody looks. Everybody just walks by like it's normal.
It's New York, dude. It's New
Yeah.
York. I mean, think about it.
Sarah's completely right. It is
Yeah,
New York.
sure.
And sometimes you can't question, when people walk down the street with other people on leashes and some weird shit. Like, I've seen some weird shit in New York.
Just keep going.
But yeah.
Have not been. So
Give it a shot. It's fun.
Yeah, maybe one day. We'll see. I don't know. It's not really my cup of tea.
I was definitely on that because I think that there was a scene earlier in the show where both of them were walking around with bow and arrows and quivers. I mean, at the beginning of this one, he went to Grill's. That's his name, right? Yeah, Grill's. He went to his apartment, and as he's walking to his apartment with the bow and arrow, or bow and arrows, and I'm like, is no one else seeing this? It's New York, yes, but at the same time, like a weapon is a weapon. I guess if you don't see what's on the tip of the arrows, it could be Nerf darts. So who knows? Yeah,
I feel like you'd still be questioned, at least here, because I thought about going. I wanted to go as Oliver Queen or Green Arrow for Halloween, and I was like, well, I would have to like take arrows and cut the ends of them off and stick them in styrofoam and put that styrofoam in a quiver, so that way, like, it would be just half an arrow for me to go anywhere with it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to walk around anywhere with it, even though it's plain as day open carrying an arrow, bow and arrow, but I wouldn't be able to walk around with it. I guarantee it. So, yeah. Well, what else, man? Anything else about these last two episodes? I know I'm super excited for what they're going to do in the finale here. I can't believe there's only one episode left. It seems like they're going to pack a lot into this episode.
Yeah, and you know what? This is good because there's also been things in the trailers that have come and gone that we have not seen yet, which on one hand makes me worry because I want to know how long the episode is going to be. I want a 2-hour episode. I'm not going to get it, but
I was going to ask you, how long do you want? 2 hours?
I want a long episode because they're not going to give me closure because they're going to give me more stories. And I know that's what keeps me coming back, paying them more money. But also, I mean,
you're going to do that anyway. It doesn't matter what they do.
We're
already hooked. Yeah. We're in the net, man. Like, we're not getting away.
Well, I'm going to take it back to music again because I'm going to do the same thing for Spider-Man. But they did the Soul Stone theme when he was talking to Natasha. Oh, yeah. And I thought that was a real excellent callback. I thought the plaque was real cool when he was actually talking because it's like, here are the Avengers first assembled. And you think about how far this whole entire thing has come. And you're like, yeah, like it's because I can't not tiptoe around Spider-Man. But the same thing also, they keep hiding the dates so well for all of these things because they don't want to spoil the fact that they're farther in the future than where we are currently. And so each of these stories are probably in the 2025. Well, actually, No Way Home came out just after Far From Home. So that one's probably a little bit, that actually probably happened all before Hawkeye.
Okay.
But man, trying to hash up like all these dates now that after the snap and everything else with them coming back, it's all up in the air. So now seeing that this is probably 13 years in the future from the very first time that they had that battle in New York.
How crazy is it though that this universe of movies has gotten so big that time can't keep up with it? Yeah. that they have to advance movies in time because they have so much stuff out that time can't keep up with it. Because before it was time, it was present day stuff, Now time can't keep up.
Good question of what would make you feel like there was enough time to go by in order to make it feel like the snap was like a real heavy weighted situation. Like, would you really think that it would be as heavy as we had perceived it if it was only like 2 or 3 years? But like when 5 years goes by for us, that feels like, fuck, it's like 5 years? Like 5 years of only half the population of everything on the earth? Was 2 years make it seem like it was not that big of a deal? And would 10 years make it seem like we've come too far? Like those who come back just need to be, we didn't
5 is that kind of that time period where it's just long enough, but yet just short enough. Because it's like 2, it's not enough to really like for it to kind of sink in. But then 10 years, you're just like,
10 years we would have rebuilt.
Yeah, I mean, you would have already started over.
Think about it like 9/11. Like 5 years later, the way you felt about it was completely different than a year or two after it happens, and then 10 years later, 20 years, like it's just, you know, time.
So that's why I say that. Like when you say that that it's so big that it has surpassed time.
Mhm.
That's just funny because I think about those types of things every time I see a date or don't see a date. In the case of Spider-Man, so it's interesting to me that thought entered my head, and I'm like, "Is 5 years like that? Seems like the perfect amount of time." Is it because that they said 5 years and it feels perfect because they said it, or is it actually because
It's a nice round number.
And you know what? They had a pandemic in real life. Help them out. Push out their stuff. Like
Yeah.
literally, it is
Yeah.
helping them
Yeah.
catch up with where they should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, dude. Marvel's gotten so big that they, like we said, have surpassed time. They can't even be contained in one universe now. Like
Oh,
it has
yeah,
to be
it's
multiple universes.
everywhere
Like it's so
now.
big, it's multiple universes and different timelines. Like future. It's insane. Like, and it all started, with time. So it's awesome, man. Marvel's doing a great job. Once again, I've been kind of distant from Marvel since after the Infinity Saga. Maybe I don't know, it was just fatigue, but man, I am really, really getting back into it now. Marvel's really caught my eye in the last few
Well,
months.
I think having these series, it's just enough to where it's within like a reasonable amount of time you can get put back into it instead of spending 10, 11 years to where you're trying to build this whole story. So
Mhm.
it's like you've invested that much, so now we just have like these other little few weeks of and just kind of stick it in there and just kind of let it marinate and you're good to go. So it's just enough to keep you interested, and plus the fact of the content that they're throwing out there. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. It's leaving you just enough to where you're still wanting more, but you don't feel like you're putting out like multi-year investment into it.
Yeah.
Like Run DMC, it's classic tracksuit.
There you go. So, okay, my last question for Hawkeye. D'Onofrio, obviously, going to be in the last episode. Based on what we've all seen now, is there a possibility Charlie Cox is in the last episode too?
Well, I mean,
it's possible now, right? I mean, doesn't it make it perfect timing, you think, for them to do something like that if they're going to do it based on, the knowledge we have at the moment?
Do you think the school would sue her for knocking the bell down?
Yeah, of course. Of course. She'd be in jail. None of this story would ever happen. like realistically, none of this story would ever happen. Yeah.
It's like magic and in a certain disease, you put money in a blender and it solved its problems.
Very true.
You just inject it right in.
Works every time, I'm telling you. So, well, y'all got anything else you want to say about Hawkeye? Like I said, because I'm ready to release some webbing here.
Maya's dude, the guy that she talks to all the time.
Yeah, her
What's your take on
interpreter, I guess.
Well,
he was like what her dad's number two?
Like number 2, yeah.
So that's interesting. The fact that now, after the conversation she had, she's like, "Where were you that night?"
He's going to kill her. He's going to be the one that ends up killing her, I think.
She's not going to die.
You don't think so?
She has a show coming out.
Oh, I guess not then. Sorry. Yeah, didn't think about that. Well, she's definitely not going to die then. She's going to be the one that kills him.
She's going to kill him.
Yeah. She's going to kill him. I'm changing my mind. I'm allowed to change my mind with the knowledge changes or when you learn something. So, yeah, she's going to
take that live space. Heard it here first.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, because like I said, they've laid out so many different storylines or so many different new things, like right at the end of this episode, going into the finale. It's like, well, okay, I didn't know about this and I didn't know about this. So we're going to see what happens. I'm hoping for about an hour and 15-minute, finale. I'm hoping that it's at least longer or significantly longer than the episodes have been. Not that the episodes have been too short, but this is a finale. They're packing a lot in there. You're muted.
Yeah, you're right. The episodes have felt just right.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that 40 minutes is like a real key time because, I mean, if you go too long, you're going to get...
I'll tell you one thing. They
just want a big finale,
They're good at the hella cliffhangers, so I'm like, I don't know if I can handle with a cliffhanger after this one. I'm like, damn it, you better at least tie something up because I'm telling you, they're good at like just chopping it off right there and then when the next episode it starts right from that point, so you're just on my nerves.
Is Barton no longer Hawkeye after this show? Does he retire next Wednesday?
I could see it.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Barton
dude's been
retiring this
around for
Wednesday.
quite a while. I think that.
He's
I
tired.
mean,
He's showing
yeah,
some age.
He's
I don't think
tired.
he's going to. He's going to retire, to a point to where it's just like, if you need me, call me.
I was like, he'll still be in the universe, and there's a good chance that in the future we'll see something of him or from him. But
He's
I think
probably
you're
going
right.
to
I
be
think as
cute.
far as Hawkeye, he's
Maybe
probably
he'll just
probably
fall
gonna
back
be
to
the-
like that mentor type position, where it's like, here, I'll hand over the bow and quiver, and you go forth. But yet, if you still need, little wisdom
Special arrows.
imparted here
Don't
and
get your
there,
special
so
arrows.
yeah, exactly.
Whistler, right? Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, with how popular Kate Bishop is in this role, there could be a Hawkeye movie in the future, which you could see him in, like you said, as in a mentor role. That'd be cool.
You wait; they'll pull like a good 5 years, and then be like, "We got to go to the farm." What's the farm?
The Farm.
The farm.
That's right. That's right. I'm excited about it, man. Next week, Wednesday. I haven't watched any of these on Wednesday when they come out, but don't have anything to do next Wednesday. I think I'm gonna give it a go as soon as it comes out, like watching it at a movie theater, as soon as it comes out. So still won't talk about it till Friday. That's why I wait, is so that way it's fresh in my mind whenever I talk about it. So that and timing. All right, well let's talk some Spider-Man. Unless y'all got something else. Covered Hawkeye pretty good. All right, cool. Let's talk some Spider-Man. So okay, I had 2 tickets the whole time for like weeks, and I had a friend that was going to go with me, and he ended up getting sick, and I couldn't find anybody else to go with me, and I was just like, man, I'm just not going to go. Whatever, I'm just going to sell both my tickets, and I'm just not going to go, because I was like, I know that if I sell both my tickets, I'm not going to, be able to get another ticket. And I thought about it, and I bought them on Adam, and I was like, well, if I sell my ticket immediately, just sell my 2 tickets immediately, and then immediately turn around and buy the ones that I just sold, I might be able to get my seat back, and it worked. So I went by myself, which is fine because I don't talk in the movie, so I don't need to go with somebody. Yeah, I got to go by myself. Got to see it last night. It was fantastic. Had a hard time sleeping last night. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't want to give away a lot of it last night, but it's definitely up there in the top tier of my Marvel movies because it really, really tickled the nostalgia bone for me. And there were just moments in this movie that I couldn't stop smiling. I thought the story went really well. Once again, not going into this knowing anything about it other than what I've seen in the trailers. I had a lot of surprises, and it really, I heard some rumors, of course, and that I was hoping were going to be true, and they did come true, which is fantastic. But all in all, man, third act on, this movie is just fantastic. I love the first 2 acts as well, but third act on, man, this movie's just lights out for me. Ross, you got a look in your face like you might be disagreeing with me, so I want to hear your.
I don't think it was a bad movie by any means, and don't.
No,
let me just start at the top.
Hate it or you love it. You hate it or you love it. That's it. All there is to it.
The movie was good. I think that they did a real excellent job bringing in all the villains without making it seem like the movie was about the villains. The movie felt like about Tom Holland's Spider-Man. It felt like it was a movie for him, and everyone else was a supporting character, and all of those supporting characters played their roles perfectly. So the director and the editing and everything else that went into this movie was phenomenal. I was sick and tired way early on with all of the rumors. Like, how long does it feel for you that you've heard Pattinson playing Batman? Like, does it feel like it's been 3, 4, 5 years? Because it to me, Spider-Man has felt like it has been like 3 years. I don't know why. Because when did Far From Home come out? Was it 19?
Too long ago. Yeah.
2019. So it felt like it. I don't know why. Maybe because just having to dodge all of the rumors, all of the Garfield and Maguire rumors for so long felt like so much work. It was one of those like you're just like dodging, like trying to like, no, I don't want to hear it. Stop. But everyone's like, I'm not going to like this movie unless like all 3 of them are in it. I'm like, you don't need it though. Like just let them tell their story. And then when I got it, the fun a little bit was sucked out of it for me. And I'm like, it's good. Like I like the movie. I just wish I just would have gone cold into it because I would have enjoyed it that much more.
I hear you. What about you, Sarah? You're fresh out of it. You just got home, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we sat down for the 6 o'clock showing. So, and of course, it's almost like what, a 3 hour movie. But I mean, going through this is the first, I guess, Tom Holland version for me that felt like the first Tobey Maguire movie and the first Andrew Garfield. Because,
Okay.
I mean, think about it.
A complete Spider-Man movie.
Well, it's not that. It's a sense of loss. It's a sense of, like that whole, with great power comes great responsibility. Because at any point in time, I mean, yeah, you have the Avenger, the MCU ones where you have the Tom Holland in it. But when it comes down to his standalone movies, did you really get that, that theme throughout those movies? Because it's like with the Maguire and the Garfield, that's what you were kind of beat over the head with from start to finish. So this one, I thought it was interesting because to me that kind of brought those three Spider-Men together into their own little, where you could see them as being, themselves in other universes and how they are similar. But I love the way that they were, the other ones were introduced though. I just absolutely loved it because I mean, I went in thinking, okay, I was going to be one of those revolting if I didn't see Maguire or Garfield. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, because, multiverse, I'm like, come on, you're bringing all the villains in. It just makes, to me, it would make sense because it wouldn't make sense to see all these other villains from other universes and not see them. But anyways, it's just like, as soon as you saw that Garfield Spider-Man, I'm like, that's Garfield. You can just look at him and tell. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, but I didn't need to see the suit. I just knew that was him.
Those muscles look faked.
It's just his lankiness. It's just his, I don't know. There's just something about him. And then to introduce Maguire, and it was like, that was true. It was like, you look like a cool youth minister.
I'm glad they didn't
he
de-age him.
And he looks so aged. I was like,
he does, but I'm glad they didn't de-age him.
Well, I mean, yeah, because, and that was a question that Brian had after the fact. He was like, okay, well, this is kind of weird because here you have, you have Maguire, Tobey coming in and he looks a lot older. And then you have Garfield, which he basically looks the same age, which I don't think that dude really ages anyways.
No.
But then again, you look at the villains and I think it was kind of explained when they were pulled, it was almost like almost like the brink of death, like right before they died. Because, we had Doc Ock talking about, well, Osborn's dead. And I'm thinking, dude, you are too. I mean, because you sunk straight down in the river. So I don't know what you're talking about. So, I mean, it was just kind of interesting. And you're trying to figure out where they kind of pulled them from. But it was, I mean, overall, I mean, that was just, it was a lot to take in. It really was. It was a lot to take in.
Well, I thought they did a great job with bringing in the other villains. And with this movie, not only just bringing in the other villains, but when they brought in Tobey and they brought in Garfield, you got to see a completion of their story with their villains in their movie. Like it feels like you kind of wrapped a nice little bow on their stories from the previous movies. And I was like, that's cool. So they tied this one up and they led this one in the future. And they kind of said, okay, this is where this universe is. And this is where they've been with these guys now, and now all these guys are saved and they're going to go back to the universe. And I'm wondering if they go back to the universe, if they're going to be the same, if like it changed anything. But it was just interesting to see how well they tied all that together. I thought, there was a lot of things in this movie that I was watching and I was like, because I always look for things that I can't understand to see if I can explain it, and I'll mentally kind of write it down. And there wasn't a lot in this movie that when I first saw it, I was like, they need to explain that. There were a couple things, but then they immediately did. And I was like, okay, they did a good job tying those things up, like the nano suit controlling the arms type thing. We'll talk about the different credit scenes in a little while, but they did a good job in this movie explaining a lot of things. I don't have a lot of questions about stuff that happened in a universe where we're introducing new universes and bringing different franchises in. I didn't leave asking what was going on or not understanding exactly what happened. I think they did a good job of it,
The villain thing was definitely something that I was thinking the whole entire time. Like, who picks and chooses where the timeline in the multiverse or whatever rips everything out? And they did it differently because, and and help me understand this, because at the time I wasn't really giving it a whole lot of thought, but it felt like it was very bothersome. Did Ned pull them out of their own universes or his universe?
His universe.
So they were just floating around, like, so like
They
how
popped
many
in.
people are popping in?
Well, they didn't explain a lot about you're right. That the villains they explained, people looking for Peter Parker, that fell through the cracks. The Supermans, the Spider-Mans, you're right. They didn't really explain why they were there, but they did mention that they were on this. They showed up in this universe, and they've been both looking for, or at least Tobey Maguire was looking for, Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So I guess he pulled them from their own universe.
Well, didn't it have something to kind of do with their like Spidey sense? Because they said they felt. I think as soon as I remember Toby saying something that he felt this. Not really like a calling, almost, but it's like they felt something. They have like their
they
tingle.
needed his help. Yeah,
yeah. He just knew, and he was like, "I felt this, and I knew I had to be here."
Which, by the way, it doesn't seem like, to be truly honest with you, in that universe where Spider-Man is floating around and he's just taking his mask off and everybody knows Peter Parker Spider-Man, if you were in there, it would be really that hard to find him. Especially if you're walking around in a Spider-Man suit, well, one of them was. Pretty sure you would get some attention, but I don't know.
Not if you're like in a back alley, I mean, it's
yeah,
because he was kind of like in a back alley.
Yeah,
all of the humor. I mean, this is completely generational. With I don't want to sound old, but I mean, to make kids sound like a certain way, the awkwardness in all the conversations. Mary Jane Zendaya does a good job of making Mary Jane seem like she's just. I don't want to say emo, because I don't mean it, but just a slightly off-putting, but
she's
still
very
awkward.
jaded. She's very jaded, very
I see what
sarcastic, very just.
Ned's awkward. I mean, Peter's awkward. To have these characters, they're all awkward. I mean, they're all high schoolers essentially. So all of the conversations that they have with Andrew's Peter Parker, I guess the conversations between Andrew's Peter Parker and Toby's Peter Parker, those two have like kind of, it gets weird when they start talking about like, that stuff comes out of you, and they start talking about like how did you do this with your villain and all these types of things. So the conversations get weird and awkward, but it doesn't seem like they hang too long. Like you can really screw that up, and like your pauses can be very, very messed up and make you feel taken out of the moment. And I think that they timed it to where like they almost fell off that cliff, but they pulled it back super fast, because there was a lot of conversations that they were trying to have because who knows, like if there was a multiverse thing and there was another me, I have no idea what the heck I would say other than, wow, like you're screwing something up. Because those guys were kind of just coming in, popping out of nowhere, and things felt a little awkward. But this movie did such a good job of like, how would you treat the multiverse? How would you treat all these things coming out of nowhere? And it's a superhero movie, so of course they're going to go over the top with it. But
one thing I loved in this movie that I noticed, I love Spider-Man the animated series when I was younger, and I've watched it when I was younger. Obviously, me and Travis covered it on superhero discussions, so I've watched it a lot recently, and I just love this show. There's, Mary Jane disappears in that show for I think a full season, maybe, I can't remember, but Green Goblin sends her through a portal, and she disappears to where Peter has no contact with Mary Jane. Now they've done that in this show, in this movie, in this universe, but twisted a little bit where now Peter knows, but Mary did, like, they don't know each other. They can't be with each other for whatever reason because of Green Goblin. But it's just they've twisted the story up a little bit. And I feel like that's a little bit of representation of that. At least I know I see it. I thought it was pretty cool the way they did that.
That ending was impactful.
It was. This movie has heart, man. That's what I said last night. It has heart. It gives Marvel back a lot of heart, I feel. Because the moments in this movie where you should have really wanted to cry, you felt it. The moments in the movie where you should have laughed, you felt it. And the moments where you're supposed to be wrapped up in action, you were wrapped up in the action. Like they every emotion I was supposed to feel, I feel like they were trying to make me feel while I was watching this, I got. And you can tell just by watching the characters, because it feels like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield had such a fun time filming this. It just looks like on screen they're having the best time ever, just acting out these characters again. Who would ever thought they were going to put those suits back on?
They did that send off that was really that felt like that's what they were doing. They were having a good time. So when they did the send off at the end, it had that feeling that you're describing to a very heavy level. So
I do have one issue I just actually thought about because when I was sitting here and I got a question, you may be able to answer it. The spell at the beginning is for people to forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and he messes it up because he keeps taking people out and he wants them to remember. At the end, the spell is to make everybody forget Peter Parker. Why did they change the spell? Couldn't you have just done the same spell, make everybody forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and that would have worked just as well? You'd have still known everybody, but nobody would have known you were Spider-Man. Does that make sense? Am I crazy?
Does.
Because they changed it at the end for some reason. Now it's nobody knows who Peter Parker is. Yeah, like I actually just thought about that because I was thinking about things in the movie. I was like, well, not a lot.
It still would have been the same thing because that's why why Peter wanted to say, well, how about not such and such, like Mary J, Aunt May, Ned, because it was still the same.
If you at least know them as Peter Parker, then you can explain to them you're Spider-Man. If they don't know who Peter Parker is, it's much more difficult to walk up and introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm Spider-Man. And by the way, I'm Peter Parker. Nice to meet you. You know what I mean? It just seems like it would have been easier for them to say, forget Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Because then all the villains who came back would have not known Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Like it would have been a new secret identity. That is weird. I caught one. But Marvel may explain it later. So,
well, I'm going to talk about it because we're there anyway. I mean, the end of that showed so much, and it showed it actually spelt out on screen with just looks, the whole great power, great responsibility thing. When he was looking at Mary Jane and just wanting to tell her, but realizing at the same time that the fact that she's wearing a Band-Aid, the fact that she's hurt is a reason why he can't do that. Mm-hmm. And all of those emotions and all of those thoughts that were going through his head when he was barely saying anything, much less, tearing up, like welling up as he's standing there looking at her. I mean, that whole entire scene was just so crazy, but you realize that that's always the superhero conundrum, is how well do you protect those that you love the most? And it was ridiculous. He's ready to just pour his heart out. And it always is that question. If you could go back and take something away to cause someone to live without pain, would you do it?
Yeah.
And to a level that you're going to love someone, like to the day that you die, do you separate those feelings for them to live a better life? And like, it was crazy. I was sitting there the whole time, like, is he going to do it? He's not going to do it. Mm-hmm. But like, just the thought process going on. And I know that it's a movie, but a thought process going on in a high schooler's head.
Yeah.
Who's been to space and defeated, aliens and blah, 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 blah.
Well, ultimately it was kind of like his selfishness that got himself in that situation anyways. Because, instead of just dealing with it, okay, everybody knows I'm Spider-Man. All right, let's just move forward. He was like, it seems like everything he touched, everything just went to shit. It's just like nothing. He's like, nothing I did. I could save the world. I could save the planet. I could do, save everybody. But there's still going to be people there, or stuff's going to happen where it's just going to still show a bad light. Just like, them wanting to get an MIT, and just them knowing him. So it's kind of like, well, in essence, I want to try to help everybody else, but then it's like, I don't know. It's just
he sacrifices everything.
Yeah, exactly. So, to have that final ultimate sacrifice where it's like, okay, well, this is the ultimate do-over. Yeah, they don't know who I am. And yes, it sucks. But in essence, like you said, it's like, be the bigger person, be that hero to where you're just able to let go.
Mm-hmm. But it also gives you something to draw to in the future of him coming back to him and Mary Jane. Because in the future, I guarantee you're going to have at least three more Spider-Man movies with how young he is. Well, I don't know. I read online that he's wanting to take a break from acting and focus on family. So I don't know how true that is because it's online. But bringing up this point is great, Ross, because that ending, it does have some weight to it. And it goes back to what Sarah was saying earlier about how this one felt like a Spider-Man movie because like you did with Spider-Man 1 and the Amazing Spider-Man 1, because you can't really have a great Spider-Man story, or you can't really feel Spider-Man until he's at least gone through that kind of anguish or that kind of pain. He doesn't always have to be in that, but he has to have gone through it. And, in this universe, you haven't really seen that. Tony Stark dies, but Tony Stark wasn't just about him. Now you get the surprise in this movie, which was a surprise for me. May gets killed. which did y'all see that coming? Because I sure as hell didn't.
I heard.
You heard? Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't have it. That surprised the hell out of me. But because when I saw her get hit by the glider, I was like, there's no way she'd survive that. And then she gets up and I was like, oh, okay, well, they're comic book moving it, I guess, you know? And then she dies. And I was like, spoilers, by the way, what we're going, everyone is spoilers.
Too late.
Yeah, too late.
Well, see, like I said, that's the previous two, that's their Uncle Ben moment, or their,
right.
you know,
And they bring that up when they're talking about him. And that's how you know that's that moment he's going through where he's made the decision to be a hero based on what's happened. And this movie, that's why it feels like the Spider-Man, one of the Amazing Spider-Man, is because now he's gone through that. And now he's going to be the center of the Marvel universe. So.
And they did it in a nose-up way to like Marvel fans who hated his connection to Iron Man. Mm-hmm. So because you described it, all of this was of his own doing, and everyone has always hated that Tony Stark's his only foe has been himself. Every one of his problems he's created. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, this is the reason why that they needed to separate him from Tony for other people to get back on board, and probably for Sony to really get back on board. Like, okay, you need to get him away from Iron Man. I mean, they gave him the suit. Mm-hmm. You know, like finally they started perfecting. I mean, we can talk about that at some point, but they started to perfect the look of it. I mean, they gave him an inside-out suit. They gave Spider-Man's going to sell toys. I mean, this right here is just more re-sleeves of like all of their characters they can possibly do. So,
well, can I be honest with you? This may be an unpopular opinion. Tom Holland's Spider-Man suit that he wore throughout most of this movie with the big yellow and everything, it looked like a cloth version of the mech suit, the Iron Spider,
or the nano suit.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. Every other Spider-Man suit in this movie looked better than that one. I was looking at it and I was like, that looks horrible. And I get it. That's
more homage to the original Iron Spider suit, but it still had blue in it because they increased the size of the spider. But
yeah,
well, we're still at the ending. I mean, I know we got so much movie to talk about, but what did you think about that final suit?
I loved it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It looked so good. And I was like, that's the Spider-Man
suit. Rolling around blue Christmas tinsel or something. Just like it was.
And I didn't know Spider-Man. I didn't know Peter Parker was a seamstress. Because have you guys ever tried to play with a sewing machine?
Oh yeah, well he's always makes his own suit.
Yeah.
I know, but still, it just always the level of how it just fits just right.
Hey,
yeah, this suit doesn't suck into him like the last one did, or come out of a fanny pack. Or
I loved it, but you know what though? I loved Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's suits too. Honestly, on screen when I was looking at it the whole time, I was like, Tobey Maguire's spider suit is the best spider suit. Like hands down, just looking at the best spider suit. Then I saw the one at the very end of the movie, and I was like, okay, I might have to see it again, but that one looks pretty damn good.
I haven't
I just love Tobey Maguire's spider suit. Yeah, I haven't hated any of them exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I didn't really like that one that much, but I didn't hate it. But yeah, I love seeing the different suits, and the suits were amazing. I love the interaction, like I said, with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. And I loved like the moment where he's like, I loved how he was like, you're amazing. You're amazing. And I wanted to be like, you're an amazing Spider-Man. And I wanted him to look and be like, you're spectacular. I wanted them to say that back and forth to each other or something like that, you know, but it didn't happen. And I loved when Tobey Maguire was talking to him, he was like, I was an Avenger. And he said, no way. Really? Or something like that? He's like, what is that? Like, it was so crazy. They did a great job with those three together, which is why what made the third act so great for me. The comedy wasn't over the top.
They did seem like they had it seemed like it was hard to control how much fun they were having.
Yeah.
So
like Andrew Garfield especially, man. Like like he was crushing it. So what else about this movie? Okay. I don't know about for y'all, but the Charlie Cox was a total surprise for me. Once again, haven't dove into this. I've, of course, heard rumors Charlie Cox was on set.
Well, I'm not going to lie.
Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. But
I'm not going to lie. I saw those stills, the ones that were leaked. I saw those.
I didn't see those.
So I was like, this is cool. It's like, this is cool. But I mean, like I said, it's like, okay, yes, no. I didn't care. I was just like, that's just more icing on the cake, honestly. So I wanted to see that scene just because you see a still. I mean, that.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't give you like, the full, story behind it. But I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Especially catching that brick. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I did notice though that the beginning of this movie and even in the trailers, it made it seem like the legal aspects of Spider-Man, what he was going through, was going to be a whole lot bigger in this movie, but it seemed like they rushed through it real quick, and then there were no repercussions.
Which I'm fine with.
Did
Because
he even have a trial? Did they even show that?
Well, they said that he wasn't going to have one.
Okay.
Yeah, they kind of glossed over it a little bit.
Happy was the one that was having issues.
Yeah. Which loved Happy in this movie. That was great. And I even liked the little moment at the end where they're at the gravesite talking to each other, and just shows the gravity of that. You know, that even Happy, who's worked with Spider-Man, because he hasn't forgotten that he's worked with Spider-Man, right? Nobody's forgotten that. They've just forgotten who Peter Parker is. They haven't forgotten who Spider-Man is.
I was thinking that as you were saying it, but I mean, like, if your take on the spell is correct, that, you know, if everyone just forgets who Peter Parker is, then yeah, that's a good chance.
Yeah. And now he's on his own. He's fresh start. Nobody. So
getting his GED.
Yeah. Well, GED in the single bedroom apartment is classic Spider-Man.
Yeah. Was it the same apartment? It sure looked like it was
It looked very similar. I was hoping they were going to do that. It's talking about Spider-Man 1.
Yeah. I was waiting for the landlord to come in.
I know, right?
Yeah. I said first up front.
Yeah. Let's talk about J. Jonah Jameson in this one too, man. Like, he's always kind of a douchebag, but man, he's a serious douchebag in this movie. But don't get me wrong, the part was great. It's exactly what I see him as, but man, he was a serious douchebag in this movie.
They did such a good job of poking fun of Alex Jones. I mean, it was all like, you know, and don't forget to buy our vitamins.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. But the fact that he was in front of a green screen on a fold-out table to start off with, and then he moved to like a straight-up full-on studio was really, it was telling of like how much his information was, you know, fake news, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But his character's good. I like him. I mean, him playing J. Jonah Jameson is always fun. Just his demeanor, what he comes to the table with for that character is so spot on. I mean, pulling him straight out of the cartoon, fantastic.
Oh yeah. And, you know, talking about people coming back that are just acting great roles. William Dafoe, man, coming back as Green Goblin was great. And I
costume.
I love the look of the first one. I said this last night. The villains that they brought back, I thought were all good in their roles, and they looked great, with the exception of Jamie Foxx. I didn't like the way they portrayed Electro, but Jamie Foxx did a great job in the role. They made him look better, which is crazy because the costume, right? You're right, Ross. That Green Goblin was in was awesome. Loved it. So comic booky, like fantastic. Absolutely. And I loved his portrayal of this character too. I don't know. I mean, I really need to go back and watch the first Spider-Man movie again, and it won't be disappointing because I love that movie. Just to see his role in that movie again, because I forgot how great of an actor he is. You know, Electro the same way, man. Once again, I didn't like the way that character looked in the last movie, but I like Jamie Foxx in that role. The look in this movie is perfect. Absolutely loved it. I love how they interact the arc reactor in with him too. You know, I love how they explain it's a different kind of energy. That's why I look different. And I was like, awesome. I'm glad they did that. Give me that explanation. That's really cool, because now I don't have that question. And that's one of those things, connecting things together again. You know, it worked out perfect. And even with the deaths, we all knew they all came from the deaths because they all had that moment where they were just about to kill Spider-Man, and then they were here. You know, it's like, okay, cool. They're tying these things together really well. I enjoyed it. But what do y'all think about the villain return? You know, Doc Ock was great, and Hobgoblin was great. Everybody else, they're a little more minor characters for me anyway.
I just love the whole, like, we're gonna cure them type thing. So when, like, all the guys got together and, you know, Garfield, he was like, "Oh, I've done this before," and then he's always like, "Done this before." They're like, "So that's no big deal. So we can just, you know, go ahead and whip up what is that, antidote for Doc Connors, and then what was it, the antidote, I guess, for Osborn." So I'm just like, okay, yeah, let's not just go in somebody's, I don't even know where the hell they were, with like in a generalized lab. I mean, where were they? They were just like pulling shit off a shelf. I was like, okay, go with it. But I did like the fact that they did fix Doc Ock's chip. That was cool, because I still remember that scene in that movie where it like popped. So then we had all those the AI all in his head and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was kind of cool. I thought, you know, it's like that compassionate part that the Tom Holland Spider-Man has always had. I mean, and he always tries to see the good in everybody. He tries to see like the positive, So that's why it was so torn, because it would have been so easy for Doctor Strange to go ahead and send everybody back to that moment. But he's like, no, we can't do that. They're gonna die. He's like, that's kind of their destiny. That's what they do.
Mhm.
They're without saying they're trying to kill Spider-Man. I mean, that's what's gonna happen. But it was really interesting, and then seeing the interactions of the villains with each other too, especially with Doc Ock saying, "Oh, hey, it's Osborn. How you doing?" It's like, "Oh, hey, Octavius, what's going on?" It's like, I didn't realize. I mean, I knew they knew each other, but I didn't realize that, like Max knew Osborn and all this other kind of stuff. So it's like everybody knew everybody. And it was kind of, but I knew the Lizard was there because, like I said, I'd seen that one, like, what was it in the trailer? Like with the big, I guess the big fight scene or whatnot when they went minus 2 spiders. But it was kind of interesting just to see everybody's reaction to him. They're like, "Oh, it's a dinosaur. Oh, it's a talking dinosaur. Okay." So I guess that's where the humor kind of plays into it too. So, but it was interesting just seeing I don't know. I just forget how much I miss those characters, even though they're villains, and it was just.
Well, those were all such perfectly cast characters too. Like just the look of them, they're just perfect, great actors, and they all did such a great job.
It was comic booky though, to a very good point.
Yeah, but not over the top comic booky.
Yeah,
it's the kind of comic booky I want to see.
We can all be in this to try to, if we all know that we die, let's try to survive. So,
yeah, sitting here while you're sitting here talking, I thought of another thing about this movie that I have a question about. Okay, when Peter first steals the little cube with the button on it, with the no button on it, from Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange does a little hit to him and knocks him out of his body. How does Peter control his arms? They showed it. They said Doctor Strange says this is not supposed to happen. Never explained it. Never said anything else about it. Like, does he have some kind of superpower? Like,
it's a Spidey sense.
I don't know. Maybe that's an explanation. To be honest with you, it very well could be. I don't know. But they didn't. They just glossed right over that and went on. I was like, okay.
He's supposed to be that strong, and I mean, if Spider-Man is one of your strongest heroes in your universe, you got to find ways to kind of make it seem like why. You can't forget the scene in Infinity War where he grabs that dude's like claw or hammer. I can't remember his name. And his head pops out from the side.
Yeah.
You can't forget that because it's like, oh, he just made him look like a bitch. Like,
right. But didn't he do the same thing to Hulk? And Hulk couldn't even. I mean, I know Spider-Man's strong, but I think Hulk's stronger, right?
I mean, it depends on which version of Hulk you get. If you got you just pierced Hulk's skin like that wolf thing did in Ragnarok. He was pretty pissed off about that and flipped that dude. So I don't know. I don't know, man. All I can say is that they're trying to make him look strong. I thought it was weirder that they made him float back to his body like he was swimming.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, whichever.
Yeah. I mean, that was, I'm sitting here as we're going through this trying to think of anything that I saw or I remember from the movie that bothered me. And that's so crazy because I want to take a notebook into the movie theater, but I feel like someone would get mad at me for that. I don't know why. I wouldn't pay as much attention.
My biggest problem was Ned in the sling ring, trying to figure that out.
That was an issue. Now, if you're going to make it where he's going to have something to do with Doctor Strange in the future, maybe he's going to go to school and train to be a wizard or whatever, then okay, I see that. But if it's just this one-off, hey, I'd learned how to use a sling ring. Like, very contrived to the story.
We saw Doctor Strange struggle so much with it, and if it was supposed to be struggling because of his hands and because of what that like mental barrier was doing for him, the physical problem becoming such a mental barrier was stopping him from figuring out how to use a sling ring, because it doesn't seem like the sling ring carries anything other than like the potential to harness whatever chakra energy, blah, blah, blah. I just don't see someone like Ned picking it up and just being like, woo.
Right.
Oh, wow. I just opened a portal. Woo. This is fun.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong. It was a badass way to bring in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. So because of that, I'll let it slide. But yeah, that was a great way to do it. I didn't see Doctor Strange in this movie as much as I thought I was going to. You know, you see him a little bit in the first act. He's gone for the entire second act. He comes back for the third act and does just a little bit of stuff here and there.
So he was falling
yeah.
for 12 hours. Is that what he said? He was falling in the Grand Canyon for 12 hours,
just like he did the Loki.
I guess it wasn't 30 minutes. So, you know.
Yeah.
Still, though, I feel like they kind of neutered him, and you probably needed to really get the story come across.
Right,
But
it's a Spider-Man story.
It felt like they neutered him right off the bat to the explanation of, well, no, he's a supreme sorcerer by default. I'm like, wait a second, you guys don't have rules about this stuff? Like, like all of a sudden 5 years is gone, and like no one shows up, and he's just the guy all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like he had a real nonchalant, like, I'm here to play my role, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it was almost like he's that guy at work that knows he's going to quit in a couple weeks and just doesn't give a fuck.
Yep.
It's kind of
short
the role
timer.
play, like, you know what? If something bad happens, oh, well, I'm not going to be here much longer, type deal, And then all of a sudden it got serious when he knew he fucked up big time. So he was almost, whenever casting the first spell, almost like he'd been sitting there drinking.
Yeah.
Like it's what it kind of felt like. I was like, well, okay, whatever. That's the Doctor Strange we're getting. But I think, with the knowledge we have now, with the what if, and then of course the Doctor Strange trailer leak that we had, which I think is so funny that happens. We're gonna get a dark Doctor Strange, so maybe they're trying to lighten up Doctor Strange himself to have that big contrast between the two. I don't know.
Sarah said it, we were talking about it, and then when she was reading that, that it was an end credit scene, I'm like, that sure as hell felt like a trailer lengthwise. All of their post credit scenes, not read, all their post credit scenes are either normally funny or very short and sweet. This changed that. I mean, like this ending was, that wasn't a trailer.
Yeah,
like what's going to happen.
Yeah, the guys beside me before the movie started, because I get there early, the movie didn't start yet, and I hear them talking, and they're talking about the same kind of stuff, that we're talking about right here, so I know that, okay, they're kind of in this same realm I am. And one of the guys was talking about the Doctor Strange trailer leaked, and I was like, ah, and then we get to the end of the movie, and the same guy was like, oh, so I guess that's how the Doctor Strange trailer leaked, because it's the post-credit scene of the post-credit scene of the movie. And it did. It was very trailerish, and I was like, well, we're not watching a post-credit scene, we're watching a movie trailer, which I'm cool with, So, because I didn't actually watch the leaked, I didn't even look for it, but I got to see the leaked.
It
trailer.
popped right up. I'm like, why am I not getting spoiler like stuff with this? Like, why is it not like stopped? I don't understand. But then again, like by the time I started it, I mean, you're down the hole at that point. And you're like, oh well, I've already seen the first 5 seconds. I might as well watch the rest of it.
Right.
But I don't know. I can't do that at theaters either. I'll be the hey nerd. Your facts are wrong.
What about the other post scene credit?
That was good.
That was good. That was really well done. I like that. Perfect way to get Venom in this universe without having to use Tom Hardy. Perfect.
You're right. But do you want Tom Hardy?
I would take him. I mean, but I mean, you don't have to do it now. Like it gives you options. My
problem has never been Tom Hardy playing Eddie Brock. My problem has just been that I wanted more from Venom stories, and they definitely felt like that. They're made for kid friendly. Not like small kid, but you know what I'm saying. They're made for a certain crowd, and I definitely felt like for some reason I can watch all sorts of this movie superhero stuff, comic booky, but when it comes down to like those Venom movies, I sit there and I'm like, okay, how much longer is left in the movie? Yeah, I hate movies with those kind of feelings. Which it stinks because you get so much more out of it. Like I watched Venom 2. I mean, I've seen both of them, but when I watched it, I was like, yay! And then like when you see this made me more excited for Venom than the Venom movies did. Right. So what you're saying is if you take that Venom and add a little foggy spice to it, foggy sweat to it, it's a Venom you want more. I want to see it. Yeah. Sweaty, foggy Venom. Yeah. I want to see
The foggy spice.
Right, foggy spice. Yeah, I think honestly, with this, it's showing that no, we're not going to have Tom Holland.
Well, they already put him back where he started.
Right, they put him back, and
It's
now
such
we
an
have
epic
the
way. You gonna pay for your drinks?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wish I could do that. Man, my 20s would have been a lot cooler.
But I thought it was funny the way that bartender was trying to explain to him how the blip went. He's like, so you're telling me, he's like trying to go through this, and it's like if you hadn't experienced it, it would be kind of a crazy thing to think about.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like, you're telling me these people disappeared and then came back 5 years later and just like that. Okay.
So let me ask, this is definitely the way they're bringing in mutants into this universe, right? People from other universes.
There could be an impact because of the multiverse. Like,
they could cause a mutation, is what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe? I mean, like, it's possible.
So
anything's possible, dude. I mean,
but the thing is, if they do that, you can't do that. You cannot do that, because if you do that, then every mutant is a mutant from that day on. All the history that you have with mutants, with Magneto in his past, with Xavier in his past, with Wolverine in his past, it's all gone because they're just now becoming mutants. But how could you do that? I think you have to bring him in from another universe. They have to have a path.
From another universe so they can have a different backstory.
Yeah, they have to have a path. I'm going to be upset if they bring in mutants.
I'm not. What I'm saying is that maybe in the universe that, because I'm pretty sure they're not referring to this as 616, but it keeps getting confused that it is 616. Whatever method that they're going to bring them in could be from another universe into this one through, like, either transcending from one to the other, or not transcending would be the wrong word, but coming from one to the other, or this is just a universe that doesn't have mutants. Possible. If the other universes don't have Avengers, if there's countless universes out there, then there has to be some universes that just don't have them. And so if they're going to bring them in, they can either do it through just shifting right on over, and they do have their histories and backstories, and they do have all that they bring with them, but now they're here, or whatever. I mean, I get what you're saying, but my brain's thinking that they could do it in a way that would make sense, but
trying to have a person
who's very fallible.
Yeah, like a person who has a similar backstory to the mutant's backstory, but now they're a mutant, and it's you're right, you could. I just feel like it's a waste of a character if they bring new mutants in and they're all brand spanking new mutants, because then who's more powerful than who? Like, you need experience. It takes away from the seniority you expect with Magneto and Xavier and all that, which I don't even know if they'd be in what's going on. We know nothing about mutants.
We've been having the same conversation about Spider-Man. Like, how do you do it without Ben? How do you do it where Tony Stark is his person? How do you do these things and make them make sense? And now look at where we are at the end of this movie.
I think it's slightly different, though, because Ben is not a character that's consistently in every Spider-Man thing, like a background, like Whistler for Blade, or like.
I'm not nitpicking. I'm just saying, like, it's the fact that it happened.
Yeah.
Not to the severity or the level of its importance. The fact that it happened is something that we weren't okay with in the beginning. A lot of fans weren't okay with. I had no problem with it. I don't care. Tell me a new story. Let's go move on. Yeah. I watched all the different versions of, like, all of the cartoons and read all of the different comic books of this cut and this cut and this run and this run. I don't care. Just give it to me. Let me see. I mean, if I don't like it, I won't watch it. But now look at where we are with Tom Holland Spider-Man. And I mean, we had a good movie. We had him come full circle right back to the Spider-Man that we all know and love. And I mean, now he has essentially nobody. He lives in an apartment. He's still going out and just webbing shit up like crazy.
Yeah, he is. Webbing all over the place. I mean, he is. I was thinking to myself last night, and I said this when I did my little review. I haven't seen a Spider-Man movie that I didn't enjoy. I love all the Spider-Man movies, some better than others, obviously, and they all have, some have some really down points, but I love all the Spider-Man movies. I'm really going to have to go back, because every time I want to say, like, well, Tom Holland's my favorite Spider-Man, then I see Andrew Garfield, and I'm like, well, shit, Andrew Garfield did a great job as Spider-Man. I like that Peter Parker like Spider-Man. Then I go back to Tobey Maguire. I'm like, well, shit, Tobey Maguire did a great job as Spider-Man. So I have a hard time saying who my favorite is. And although in the MCU movies, this is going to rank high on my list, I'm going to have to go back and do a rewatch of Spider-Man 1 and The Amazing Spider-Man to determine what my favorite Spider-Man movie is, because those are, right up there in the top. And this one's a really, really good movie. It's right up there with those, in my opinion. Like you said, Sarah, that's kind of what it felt like, was an origin story for Spider-Man. We hadn't gotten
But
that yet.
Didn't it give you that feeling from like those other, like from the beginning, from the other ones? Because
he was a secondary character to the other, what it seemed like, Yeah.
But I don't know, it just seems like the stakes were higher for him in this movie. Because like when you first meet, you had the first, Spider-Man, and then you had the first Amazing Spider-Man. They had different, like the stakes were kind of thrown out to him like right then and there from the get-go. It seems like with the Tom Holland version, yeah, I mean, he was thrown in, like with Infinity War, not that kind of thing, but it wasn't really, I don't think it really was like on his personal level. I mean, yeah, him, his relationship with Tony Stark, yeah, I get that. But for like, I guess on that family level, that was that, because that's always been like a big, building block for who Peter Parker is and the type of Spider-Man he is. So I think at this point, it's interesting they wait until now to really like throw that in there, because even with the other two, they share their experience, and when they finally have their little kumbaya moment, and saying, well, this happened. So for Maguire, it was his Uncle Ben. For Garfield, it was losing Gwen Stacy, and then obviously for Tom Holland, it was losing May. But I'm like, well, and this is the first time I really felt like, okay, that was his moment where he actually had it got real fast.
Which is telling to their storytelling, because whereas most Spider-Man start here, when you have that origin point, and then you're able to tell like a whole other bit of story way before you even get to that. And then now you're at that origin point. Now you can tell everything else. I mean, you straight length extended everything that you could to give you more Spider-Man stories, which Sony's going to do, because they are going to milk this thing. Clearly, they have all these plans. Some of them they've talked about, but I really think that they're going to go a lot further, and I think you're going to see a lot less Civil War, Infinity War style team ups. Clearly, the Avengers are gone, but I think you're going to see Spider-Man really start to become a straight up Sony thing. And I think the way that they're going to try to do it is by letting Marvel tinker with them, like work together. Like contractually, they can still do the same thing, but Marvel's more hands off, box office off. They're just going to allow Sony's going to just take over and basically create their own thing, which is fine as long as they don't goof it up. Because where do you draw the line between like, okay, now you've gone too far and now the movies are stupid after everything that you built? So you're muted.
Hit the wrong button. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that we're going to have like an Infinity Saga level team up movie again. I mean, maybe, but it's going to be down the line, way down the line. I'd like to see movies with 1 or 2 or 3 superheroes in it, like have Spider-Man team up with Daredevil. I'll watch that movie, stuff like that.
Dependency, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and I'm cool with seeing just a Spider-Man movie. But if you give me Spider-Man and like something else like Daredevil or like Doctor Strange in this one, it's cool. I get to see a little bit of another character. I get to see a nice little team up and a new story. That's not just the Spider-Man story, even though we had the complaints before. We haven't had enough Spider-Man in the MCU. This one was it. This was that movie. This was that Spider-Man movie. So because you got to remember too, I think the difference between this movie and the other ones is, okay, in this movie, we didn't see Spider-Man get bit or the origin of how he got his powers. But we do know that it was only a week from when that happened to when Tony Stark first met him. Because he even says in this movie, since I got bit, there's only been 1 week where my life felt normal, or my life was normal. And I'm assuming that. Is that kind of how y'all took it? Mm-hmm. So the stuff for the first movie, the origin movies for Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, that whole first movie was the first week of Spider-Man's life. Getting bit, going through the changes, learning about what he's doing, and then he meets Tony Stark. So that's kind of where they flipped it. Now he's going through all the emotional stuff that they went through in that first movie, of the first week of his career, Spider-Man. Yay! Explained it, I think. Awesome. But yeah, man, I really, really enjoyed this one. Tom Holland's great as Spider-Man. I love seeing the other characters. The story was on there for me. I haven't seen anything bad on it except for one bad review, and that was actually Katie. Katie was not a glowing fan of this movie. So whenever I talk to Katie again, I'm gonna have to be like, hey, come on the show and talk to us about this. We'll see what's going on, which is fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. I'm not telling her she's wrong by any means.
Tell me
I just
why.
haven't heard I just haven't heard anybody say anything bad about it yet. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Do y'all have a grade? Do you think you can give it a grade 1 through 10, or a number 1 through 10? And you can use decimals.
I want to let it marinate just for a little bit, because I mean, right now, I mean, I could probably give you like something like huge high, but
Right.
It's kind of like Brian and I were talking about, like, this is one of those movies like you need to go see it again.
Right.
This is not just a one viewing type movie.
I get it. I get it.
Because he said this is definitely one that will be bought once it is available. Absolutely. I said, well, dude, we got all the other ones, so why not?
I might go see this one in theaters again, because I know my daughter wanted to go see it, and if it wouldn't have been a school night last night, I would have just taken the second ticket and taken her with me, but she had to go to bed. So, but I might take her.
Pretty sure we're gonna have to see it again before the weekend's out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I think this is one where you have to kind of like let it marinate a little bit.
But it's good enough that I want to go back and see it again, which is a good thing. So I can go ahead and give it a 1 through 10 just initially, and I'm always welcome to changes if I go back and there's something I don't like, but I highly doubt there will be. I'm going to give it an 8.5. Thought this movie was spot on with the character. I enjoyed the story. Like I said, the entire third act was great. Everything I saw with all the Spider-Men together, I just had a huge smile on my face. You have the reclined chairs. Like when that happened, like when we get to that third act and they start this fight, I had to lean my seat up, and I was like sitting on the edge of my seat watching it, like hands and or elbows on knees, hands on chin, or I was that excited about this, and I was like just loving it. So 8.5. It's not a perfect movie, but it's pretty up there for me, man. Really, really enjoyed it.
I'll give it an 8.
Yeah, I'd say probably 8 at best right now. And that's just because I'm not trying to. It plays heavily on the nostalgia vibes, and it definitely does a good job of tying a nice. Not tying. It does a much better job weaving all the stories together between the MCU stories and everything that's come before. I think that, you said last night on your little 10-minute thing that Shang-Chi felt like a Disney movie to you, and I won't argue that point. I do feel like the fact that it's an origin movie and it's telling its own thing and it's trying to go for a different vibe is why it feels so disconnected, because it had nothing to do with what we know.
Yeah, anything we know.
I mean, it had Wong. Wong was the thing. And beyond, I mean, yes, it had more things that they had talked about, but it didn't do all the work that all these other movies do. It was coming in out of left field. And this movie right here is part of what we know. It's the reason why Hawkeye is working right now. It's because they keep, I can't say enough about that opening scene from last week. It did so much to just bring you right back into where all of your emotions and feelings are. Yeah. Spider-Man does a really good job of that. I mean, I don't want to overhype it like crazy because it is a good movie. I felt like the balance between all the things that they did was really good. So, I mean, I'll give it an 8 right now. I don't like ranking each of the MCU movies because they tell so many different stories. I love that about it. I love the fact that you can have the Winter Soldier story. I love the fact that the Winter Soldier, I'm going to touch on it again because I'm a music guy, but his theme is people screaming. They wanted the Winter Soldier's theme to make it sound like people were screaming. And then you turn around and you throw Led Zeppelin in Ragnarok, which pissed off a lot of people, not Led Zeppelin, but Ragnarok. And I love both of those movies. I love them. And they're completely different. Yeah. And Shang-Chi is a completely different movie too. All of these things are so different that it's hard to compare them to one another. It just depends on what you like, what vibe you go for. And so really, this was a really good movie. It's probably my favorite Spider-Man movie. Definitely Tom Holland.
Yeah, definitely my favorite Tom Holland Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got to do a rewatch before I can say it's my favorite Spider-Man movie, because Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 1, well, actually Spider-Man 1 and 2 from Tobey Maguire are pretty fucking spot on movies.
I'm probably gonna put them on while I'm doing other stuff this weekend. Just maybe like kind of pay attention to them. So
I can almost guarantee there's going to be a huge resurgence of people watching Amazing Spider-Man and the Spider-Man movies, just because there's going to be kids who are looking at this theater and maybe they haven't seen the older versions yet. Yeah, exactly. So that's going to open up a whole new can of worms. Well, anything else about Spider-Man, y'all? Really into this movie.
One. Eternals, man. Like Eternals is finally supposed to come out on Disney Plus, like the second week of January, I think.
Is it?
Oh, really?
Still haven't even gotten around to watching that yet.
Nah, I haven't. I'm caught up on MCU. Other than that, yeah, that's the only thing I really did. But you know what? Eternals never really was something that I wanted to watch. But once again, I've said that about a lot of things. Hawkeye wasn't something that I thought I wanted to watch. What If? Well, What If I thought actually was kind of pretty cool. But there's a lot of things that they put out there that I'm like, I could care less if I watch that. And then I end up watching. I'm like, well, they did a really, really good job.
See, that was me for Hawkeye. That was me for Hawkeye.
Yeah,
I was
that was me
like,
for Hawkeye too.
Man, now I'm like, I want more. I want more.
Yeah, they did a great job with that one. So, all right, cool. Well, let's get out of here, y'all. We wrapped up some Spider-Man, talked about some Hawkeye. What do we got? We got the finale of Hawkeye next week. Witcher season 2. Give us a week to watch that or catch up if you're rewatching season 1. I finally finished season 1. Actually watched the last episode this morning. So, man, why didn't anybody tell me to watch this show before? Seriously, guys.
Why didn't you?
I dropped the ball. Why didn't y'all tell me to watch this? God. Loving it though. Absolutely loving it. We're going to talk about that. We may try to squeeze some Matrix talk in there. I don't think we're going to be able to watch all 3. We could watch all 3 of the movies, but we're not going to break them all 3 down before the next one comes out, because since I sold both my tickets, now I have one free ticket, and guess where that ticket's going? To the Matrix.
Matrix, huh?
That's
And
right.
that one comes out, what, the 22nd?
Very near Christmas. I'm not sure the exact date, but very near
Wednesday.
Matrix is the 22nd.
22nd.
Wednesday.
Okay. There's a possibility I may be going to the movies twice in 1 week. Yeah. Wow, that's Wednesday. That's crazy. So, okay, cool. Well,
I'm going to turn the volume all the way up and watch it at home.
Can you watch it at home?
Yeah,
Matrix, yes.
Yes, there's HBO Max.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm not going to the theater then. I already pay for HBO Max.
Save that ticket for, let's see,
Let's go see Spider-Man again.
We got Morbius at the end of January.
Oh, which, by the way, I'm excited for that movie.
I know, I am too.
I'm
not gonna
lie.
I'm excited for that one.
I'd like to see what it's about.
It's gonna be fun. But all right, well, y'all, let's get out of here. Sarah, where can they find you if they want to talk to you on the interwebs?
You can find me on the Twitter at My Lady Kitten. I kind of bounce around on that every little bit, so I'm sure you'll probably see me as long as the Cats play on Sunday, which hopefully they will.
Well, they haven't played for weeks.
COVID doesn't, wreak havoc on everything. Yeah. So you may see a few tweets on that. So other than that, that's about it.
Cool deal. Ross, they can't find you on the internet, scan them, but they can find you here.
Right here.
That's right. You want to get a hold of them, just hit me up. Yeah. Want to get a hold of them, just hit me up, and I'll shoot his phone number to you. So get a hold of them that way.
It's
5. Yeah. 5 is the number. Yes. That's right. All right, you can find me at the BatDaddy52 on Twitter. It's my personal handle. Check out at SCS Podcast 1. I'm trying to get better about tweeting some stuff out there. That's the show handle. Not a lot goes on with that one because I have life. But we're here every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or most Fridays. We do have to take breaks every once in a while, but most of the time you can find us on Friday. Audio drops Mondays or Tuesdays, depending on how lazy I am. Sometimes I forget about it until Thursday, but normally it's Monday or Tuesday. Any podcatcher of your choice. Give us a like or review. Tell a friend, and come check us out live, man. It's fun times. We're starting to get more people coming in the chat room. We interact with you. We put your stuff up there on screen, what your comments are, and we answer your questions. And if you got any ideas for shows or things you want us to cover, hit me up, DM me, message me, whatever you want to do, however you can get a hold of me, and we'll talk about what's going on. But that's it, man. So until next week, y'all, keep at it.
Bye, guys.
Later.